sit back and relax. You're listening to the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder of Ezra Group Consulting. And this podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. My guest for this episode was Mike Muniz, Chief Strategy Officer from Canoe Intelligence. We spoke about manual alt data management. We talked about a modular product suite. And we talked about proprietary AI for accuracy, among other things. Now, as my guest, Mike Muniz, well knows, building a great wealth tech product is hard, but selling it is even harder. Wealth management firms have long buying cycles, complex org structures, and lots of incumbent vendors protecting their turf. Most wealth tech companies waste years and dollars figuring out how to navigate that, if they ever do. Ezra Group helps wealth tech firms skip that learning curve. We spent over 2 decades advising the very wealth management firms you're trying to sell to, which means we understand how they think, how they buy, and what it takes to win their business. We offer go-to-market strategy consulting specifically for wealth tech providers, helping you define your positioning, identify the right targets, and build a distribution strategy that fits how the market actually works. If you want to free up your firm for exponential growth, you need to run, not walk, to our website, ezragroup.com, and click the big, beautiful purple Contact Us button on the homepage to schedule a free consultation. All right, let me do my standard housekeeping chores. Please subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts. Please check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And if you're a software vendor in the wealth management space, head to our website, ezragroup.com/register, and register your products for our Wealth Tech Integration Score database so your score will always be up to date. Now, before we kick this thing off, I want to squeeze in one more little bit before the conversation we had with Mike, because today, the day we're dropping this podcast, there was some news about Canoe that I think is pretty important. We couldn't get a hold of Mike back here for the podcast, but Bloomberg, here's the news, Bloomberg to acquire Canoe Intelligence, taking a defining step in its mission to transform private markets investing. Bloomberg today announced it was entering into a definitive agreement to acquire Canoe Intelligence, a leading AI-powered data management and intelligence platform for automating private markets data collection and delivery. The acquisition is the latest step in Bloomberg's multi-year commitment to transform how institutional investors engage with private markets, accelerating its strategy to deliver unified data, analytics, and tools to power end-to-end workflows and better serve investors across public and private markets. I really think we needed to talk about that before the interview started. Now, of course, Mike doesn't talk about this acquisition because we recorded this podcast last month. But I wanted to let you know that the acquisition has taken place, and of course, you'll have to take the interview in light of this acquisition. And of course, hopefully, we'll have him back and talk about how things go. And see, in terms of the news, just one more thing here, that they talk about this, the challenges that have long defined private markets, and by merging Canoe's community and data with Bloomberg's Public and Private Markets Foundation, they believe the acquisition will unlock lots of short-term and long-term capabilities, including fully integrated total portfolio view, enhanced pre-investment intelligence, converged data infrastructure, and some AI-powered intelligence. So you can check out that news on Bloomberg.com if you like, or anywhere else. All right, so that's my my insert here about the late-breaking news before this podcast is going to get published. And now let's kick this thing off. All right, I'm excited to introduce my next guest. It is Mike Muniz, Chief Strategy Officer from Canoe Intelligence. Mike, great to talk to you.
Thanks, Craig. Yeah, great to be here. Appreciate the time.
It's the year's just flying by, man. It's already June, and
sure is.
Every time I get to June, I can't believe it's June. Then it's December again.
Yeah, the first half just flew by in a blink. So.
And where am I reaching you now? Where are you today?
So I'm based in Chicago. I'm out in the suburbs of Chicago. Canoe's headquartered in New York, so I'm out there a good bit.
I just did another podcast with someone from Chicago just today. So that's in the
Oh, there we go.
Chicago seems to be a very popular
Yeah.
origin story for a lot of people.
Good place to be in the summer.
And I'm flying there tomorrow. So we're recording this on June 9th. So I'm flying to Chicago for a speaking gig. Lots of Chicago stuff going on this
There
week,
you
but
go. Yeah.
enough of where I'm going and where you are. Just let's, for the audience that maybe doesn't know, can you please give us a 30-second elevator pitch for Canoe?
Yeah, no problem, Greg. So Canoe, for those that aren't aware, Canoe is an AI platform that automates document and data management for alternative investors. And we built Canoe back in 2013. We launched the business in 2017. And we built it because wealth managers and other investors needed operational infrastructure that could scale and keep up with how fast alts were growing. And as a result of that growth, all of the documents and data that they needed to run basic reporting. So your PCAPs, your calls, your distributions, K1s, financial statements. And on top of that, clients across the industry started asking harder questions. What's my exposure? When's the next capital call? Do I have enough cash on hand? What should I invest in next? And those answers lived oftentimes in the thousands of fund documents that teams typically process by hand. And so Canoe automates that entire data journey from GP portal or administrator website to portfolio report so that your people or our clients can stop hunting for data and start actually using it. And we've been fortunate to do that and build a great technology stack that allows us to do that at unparalleled speed, precision, and efficiency so that our clients can act quickly and confidently. We work with over 500 clients today, ranging from wealth managers to family offices to institutional investors. Those firms manage investments for over 20,000 LPs across over 44,000 active funds and over 11 trillion in assets. And so that scale has given us some really unique opportunities that we're excited about in terms of where we're taking Canoe. Yeah, we've been fortunate to build a great team and a great investor base over the last 8 years. We've been in business.
It's incredible. It's hard to do, especially considering you've got some pretty big competitors out there who are also well funded and have some scale. So, what's the differentiator that Canoe offers?
Yeah, I think we were first to market and in defining and creating a category. Competitors entering into the space, we've always viewed as validating. We sort of always knew that, hey, if we were building something that the market needed, others were going to do the same. And so that's been validating. It's also been interesting over to see how the market's evolved over the last several years. Our blend of an understanding for the industry, our industry expertise with technology that solves problems, particularly at scale, is really, really unique and differentiating. We focus on providing our clients control, visibility, transparency, and ultimately, we want them to think about data as an asset. So all of the data that typically is locked within these documents, we unlock and provide to them. Versus, hey, I need an ending balance to book my quarter end valuation to close my books, or I need a net cash flow. Those are important, but that's just scratching the surface in terms of what you can do with data. And we take the opposite approach. More is better. Our clients, I think that's been very compelling for the clients.
It's all about the clients. Got to
Right.
meet them. I keep saying we want to meet the clients where they are. It sounds like such a cliche, but it winds up being true, right? They're driving a lot of what you do.
Certainly. Yeah. Yeah. It's I think there's always a blend of having a vision and pushing clients to where the puck is going, but you have to ultimately be solving problems that they're experiencing and delivering value in order to continue growing. And so we've always taken that approach. We've always thought big, and again, first to market in a new category. Naturally, we're innovative, but we've been very solutions oriented and I think practical in delivering value for clients, and that's served us really well.
I want to talk about the underlying technology, and I'm
Yeah.
sure it's all switched to AI. Since you started in 2013, it was a very different business, a very
Yeah.
different process when you're doing operational infrastructure around all the documentation, uh, distributions, K1s, financial statements, versus from 2022 on, how
Yeah.
you did that. So, talk about the underlying technology. How much is rules based? How much, still rules based? How much has been
Yeah.
become LLM driven? And how do you decide how to approach and how to apply different technology within this at this
Yeah.
different level?
Yeah. It's a great question. And I like to say we were building AI before the market kind of realized what AI was. I mean, more traditionally, we launched as a machine learning platform, but the technology has evolved, and we've always taken a comprehensive, flexible approach to building to outcomes for clients. And so we're constantly evaluating the most optimal underlying technical solution to deliver those outcomes. And for us, it's not just about extracting data for documents. That's hard, though I would say in the advent of LLMs is becoming more commoditized. For us, it's about the entirety of the workflow. So gathering documents, managing the data from those documents, translating that data into downstream platforms. And so we're constantly kind of evaluating and balancing all of those components. In terms of the extraction itself, which I think is where your question was, when we launched, we were leveraging mostly pattern-based or rules-based applications. There was some natural language processing. We had some table extraction. But for the most part, it was fairly rigid. Now, as we launched Canoe, it was focused to begin over the first 18 months, mostly on PCAPs and calls and distributions, which tend to be the most consistent in format. So patterns and rules-based technology delivered really high quality results. As we've seen new technologies enter, we've also expanded the breadth of documents we process, and we've also expanded the field libraries. So we now are an LLM first technology approach. We've built our own LLMs, so that's been really important for our clients from a security and control perspective. Um, but we're not afraid to blend other techniques, as I mentioned, natural language processing, as I mentioned, table extraction. As I mentioned, we still use regex in very limited cases. There are a lot of patterns based, particularly for document categorization. And so that flexibility and blend, I think, results in the best possible outcomes for clients. The last piece of all this is we have framed our data output as both data extraction and data validation. And data validation is really, really important. So we build in an understanding of these document types, these data sets. What is a management fee offset? What's inside or outside commitments? How do you treat recallable or recyclable capital? All of that is used to train the models as well as to validate the output of those models. And when there is potentially an exception, we bring in or introduce human expertise to ensure that the data point is accurate as an investor or a client might expect. And that expertise can come from Canoe. It can come from our clients, and that's fed back into the model. And so that's really, I think, been differentiated for us, and it's really minimized client handling and optimized speed and fidelity.
I want to get a little bit more technical if possible.
Sure.
So there's an issue we all know with LLMs, especially when there's a lot of data,
Yep.
that the accuracy starts to degrade over time. It kind of forgets a little bit as things go on and on, especially with, as mentioned, large data sets. So
Hmm.
how do you avoid that? Do you use RAG?
Yep.
What other techniques maybe do you use so that the clients don't see that downstream data starts to degrade over time?
Yeah. Yeah, there's drift, there's degradation. So the way we've built our infrastructure allows us to, at the field level and at the document level, document type level, swap in models that have the highest quality output. So that flexibility is really important where a model may degrade for a certain data field or a certain document type. We also, I think, interestingly, and this is fairly novel, we're out for patent on this. We have two models running concurrently. The first is what you'd expect, right? What is the data within this document? The second is actually designed to prove the first model wrong. And when the second is unable to prove the first model wrong, that's when the data passes to our clients and is translated over. Now, again, there may be exceptions, and that's when we'll introduce, our team or our client's team for review. And again, that's we minimize that, but we're not. We purposefully take a conservative approach for exactly what you described, Craig. We need to have 100% accuracy 100% of the time, or our clients will lose faith in us. So that fidelity governor kind of drives how we behave, both from a tech perspective and then an operational perspective. And I think it's been, again, compelling for our clients.
So tell me more about the patent. What's the name of the patent? Has it been filed? And how long will it take to get that? And what happens when you get it?
It has been filed. I can't tell you much more. I actually don't know how long it takes to be approved. But I think we believe that it's a novel approach, and that's where others across industries are using generic LLMs to great effect. Again, we believe that there are on the margin risks to doing that. And so our approach, again, has been highly conservative and very unique and novel. That's why we want to sort of provide some of that defense to our infrastructure.
And so you got to build a moat somehow. You got to start, if you got something interesting, something unique, you want to protect it. So talking about, let's go back up a level from the lower level of tech to your product suite. You've got a bunch of products that you've built out in your suite: Canoe Intelligence, Connect, Asset Data, Tax, and Labs. Can you explain how they work together? Is it a modular stack? Are they just separate applications you sort of put into a one big process? And how does the platform deliver value if you're using all of them?
Yep. So our approach, or really our platform, and thus all of those products, is built primarily to turn private markets or alternative documents into data that you can trust and you can use. And so that's how we've thought about building these. And as we've grown, to your point about listening to clients, our clients have pulled us in many of these different directions. So I'll kind of walk through each one of these products and what we do within the product, and then give a little sort of anecdote around why we've gone that direction. So we first launched the business purely Canoe Intelligence. It was document processing and data extraction. And before Canoe Intelligence, you were either doing this by hand or hiring a team of offshore folks to do it by hand. And so our technology was really first to market extracting, digitizing data. As we grew, our clients came to us pretty quickly within the first 18 months and said, "Hey, look, this is fantastic, but we've got this completely separate operational challenge with respect to simply gathering, getting access and gathering documents." At that time, maybe 2019, a lot of GPs were moving to portals, or administrators were hosting documents on their websites. And so clients had to start managing two-factor authentication, passwords. I remember when I was at Cambridge Associates, we had a master password list that was using credentials for folks who hadn't been there in like 5 or 6 years. And so it was a real operational challenge to just gain access to the documents. So we built Canoe Connect. It was the first digital tech-based document collection platform as an extension to intelligence. Naturally, if we could go get the documents and solve that problem, we could bring that into our extraction engine and get the data from those documents. And so that's grown over the years. We connect, from over about 5,000 sources, emails, portals, websites. Um, and that's been huge for clients. In 2022, roughly 2023, our clients started asking us, one of those questions I asked at the onset, what's my exposure? Um, Many of our clients started coming to us and say, hey, look, you're helping us with gathering documents. You have everything. You're helping us with accounting data, my, performance reporting and client reporting. Can you help us with analytical data and things like underlying assets, underlying portfolio companies? What's driving performance of a fund? How is that changing entry and exit multiples, operating metrics of those companies? And so we built Canoe Asset Data, and that's really an extension of intelligence pointed at financial statements and quarterly reports that will include the underlying fair market values, cost basis, and operating metrics of the portfolio companies or assets in which these funds are investing. Um, and so that's relatively new for us and has been really uh, helpful in providing value to the front office. A lot of times the research teams and front office teams were the ones managing this information and creating their own models for portfolio construction and monitoring. And that's been really compelling. And then similarly, Canoe Tax, we had clients come to us and say, hey, look, you have all our K1s. Can you give it to our accountant? Sure, of course. Oh, can you also extract the first page of the document and digitize that across all of my investments or my clients' investments? And can you help me do post-tax performance? And so Canoe Tax emerged again as an extension to new document types and new data sets from a digitization perspective. Canoe Labs has been pretty interesting for us. This is really when we started building our own LLMs. We wanted to provide our clients both a face to the AI. A lot of what we do is kind of behind the scenes. Documents come in, data comes out. You can see everything. It's fully transparent. There's data provenance and traceability, but you can't really interact with it, or there's no need for it. And so we built Canoe Labs to provide more interaction for our clients, document summarization, document chat, cross-document analysis, portfolio-wide intelligence, foreign language management, things that are maybe newer. We want clients testing and using both for value and for validation, a lot of which ultimately merges back into the primary platform. In terms of modularity, I'd say Connect and Intelligence. You need clients need at least one of those. Everything else can be stacked. I'd say we're sort of the platform is compounding by nature. So most of our clients, utilize a good portion of the suite. Connect and Intelligence, vast majority of clients use all of that. And then a growing percentage of our base is using the full suite of asset data, tax, and labs.
Obviously, just selling more to your existing clients is easier than selling new clients. So you want to have more stuff for them.
Right.
So it makes sense. And things they're asking for, why not build it?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And it, we get asked a lot. So, there's a filtering process and there's a lot that we say no to. It has to fit.
Of course, you're a product company. You have to say no.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. But it has to fit with our vision and with value that will be extended across the entire or applicable across the entire client base. So we're not building custom one-offs.
Right. You don't want to be a custom software shop. You want to be something
can't do that. Yeah.
At least some percentage, 40% could use at some point.
Right.
So I want to talk about the asset data. That seems like a very interesting product. It's like a drill down into the underlying holdings. That doesn't sound like it's right easy to do. So what was involved in that? What were some of the challenges you had building that?
It's very complex. And there are levels, right? So you can go, just from a pure exposure perspective, I want to understand, across all my funds, how I'm allocated regionally or from a sector perspective, or I want to understand even, my own exposure to SpaceX. That is this most simplified version of asset data. And even that's difficult, right? Because funds invest into these companies at different times. They mark those companies, same companies differently because they're private. They may invest into different tranches or portions of the capital structure. So it's not easy. On top of that, the next layer is operating metrics at the company level. So tracking things like revenue, EBITDA, occupancy rate for real estate. There's really no standardization. So there's a wealth of information in these quarterly reports and financial statements, but it's very, very meticulous and difficult to manage. So to agree with you, yes, it's very complex. We've taken a very similar approach. So we will use as much technology as is possible to yield the highest quality results. For asset data, what we've done, and it's really not dissimilar to how we built Canoe early on, where there was a more human intervention and review as we were building and scaling the volume of data managed. We implemented more of an operational oversight and audit process where we brought in real subject matter experts into the process to review documents and data the technology was processing. And so, I think there's certainly a level of interpretation required. There's footnote analysis, and that human operational, I'd say, net was really, really important for optimal client results. Now, our view is that, and we've seen it already, a lot of that teaching and institutional knowledge can funnel back into the technology. So over time, as volumes grow, as we cover more funds, as we see more documents and nuances, the technology gets smarter. I think that with this data set, you're naturally going to see more human intervention. So if we say, on what we would call core, kind of your accounting information, you can get upwards of low single digits of human review, and that could be a checkbox. Yes, that's correct, but very, very minimal touch. With asset data, you're probably in the high single digits, if not between 10 and 15% of documents that require some sort of human intervention. And again, the spectrum of what that means could be a click, could be a revision. And so I think it's just the nature of the data set.
It is not easy to do. I'm
No,
always impressed with the scope and the abilities of firms like Canoe to build out these incredible products that are handling data that is not standardized, is not right, is not easy to understand, and
correct.
requires extensive institutional knowledge to be able to add value. You could just feed it into Claude or OpenAI, but you're not going to get the same level of output, either quality or
Yep.
accuracy.
Yeah, and we've done that because we have to test, why is our approach better than what you could go get through OpenAI or Claude, and why? And the results are overwhelmingly positive in our favor, particularly with this data set. The other thing about this data set, there's on the side that makes it a touch easier for us to scale, particularly with more human oversight. This is a fund-oriented approach. So one fund can scale across any client invested in that fund. On the core offering, intelligence offering with PCAPs and calls and distributions, advisors and clients can have client-specific nuance or configuration that requires us to go to a specific entity and book a transaction a certain way based on how the client wants it booked. So less configuration, more scale, given it's at the fund level, which helps us, from like a business perspective. There is efficiency there and allows us to insert more people, which naturally bring more cost to the application.
Oh man, this has gone by too fast, Mike. I could go on and on. We're almost out of time. I want to throw a couple of more things at you.
Sure thing.
Congrats on winning Best AI Implementation at the Private Asset Management Awards. I normally don't like award shows, but I think in this case it's well deserved.
Appreciate that.
Especially when it comes to integrations. You guys integrate
Yeah.
with Adapar, Tamarack, Black Diamond, Orion. All of our clients use them. Snowflake, all of our clients
Yep.
use that. So that's a great footprint. You've got a great integration score of 6, which is solid, excellent score. So talk about integrations a little bit before we
Yep.
go. So
Yep.
what are some of the patterns you see when it comes to integrations with these applications, and what is Canoe doing to make them more valuable to clients?
Yeah. Yeah. Appreciate the nice comments there, Craig. We've always been system agnostic. We've tried to play, like Switzerland. Our clients need data and documents to go into the systems that they use. We have no control over the systems that they use, so we need to facilitate and enable. And oftentimes that's many. That could be several of those that you mentioned, all of which have different translations and data libraries, formats, technology acumen. Some have API readiness, others don't. So we've effectively architected our delivery engine to accommodate and meet partners where they're at. That can be flat files, that can be SFTPs, that can be S3, that can be API, it can be Snowflake Exchange. And so that's been really, really important for us. We operate as a hub through which documents and data flow, and that has to have an endpoint for our clients. And I think that's been differentiating for us, the flexibility and breadth of compatibility we have in market.
Man, we are running out of time. I really should cut it off. I've got a couple more questions I'm really interested to hear the answers to. So, Canoe has raised $75 million across 4 rounds. Congrats on that as well. It's great to have some cash in the bank, especially in this industry. You've raised money from Goldman Sachs, Carlyle, Blackstone, Hamilton Lane as an example. That these firms are potential clients, or they could be competitors in some aspects. So, how do you manage the perception problem that some of your larger strategic investors also have direct interest in the data flowing through your platform? And has that investor mix ever created any friction in a sales process with large clients?
Yeah, it's an important question. I've always been very careful to ensure that those who we partner with or from whom we take capital won't adversely affect our broader client base in any way. So, look, we've fantastic investors. All are minority investors, so none of them have any sort of control or any sort of access to anything that we do or any client information. As you mentioned, most of those investors are clients. In fact, all of them, and a number of those were clients before investors. So we view that as very validating, and that's worked in our favor. We've not had friction. I think when you tell people that they're minority and we remain independent, that sort of diffuses any concern.
That's good. You want to keep growing. You don't want anybody to say, "Hey, I'm not going to buy from you because you're working with these guys." And I've been in the industry for over 35, financial services over 35 years, and we started Ezra Group 21 years ago. But back before, when I was actually in the corporate world, working for Broadridge, the precursor to Broadridge, we were selling market data, and one of our biggest competitors was Reuters, selling market data in terminals. But on the back office side, one of our biggest clients was Reuters.
Yeah.
And so they were always constantly fighting. And so we've seen that for years, for decades, between everyone's competition. So you got to work with everybody.
Yeah. And look, this is operational in nature. And so what that means is automating away this monotony allows firms to focus on what makes them special. That could be client service, investments, alpha generation, whatever it is. And so I don't think it becomes, a lot of firms look at this and say, hey, look, Blackstone's using this, Carlyle's using this, Grosvenor's using this, Cambridge Associates using this, Hamilton Lane's using this. We should too, because it's going to allow us to do what we do best. And I think that we've been fortunate in that regard.
Very fortunate, man. And now we are definitely out of time. So where can people listening find more information about Canoe?
Visit our website, canoeintelligence.com. Reach out to me at any time. It's Mike at Canoe Intelligence. It's super easy. Please reach out if you have thoughts or questions. We'd love to listen and explore how we can help.
There you go. Mike, thanks for being here, man. Great talking to you.
Greg, really appreciate it, man. This was great.
It's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Number 1, Canoe's core value is automating alternative investment documents and data workflows end to end. Mike framed Canoe as an AI platform that turns messy GP admin documents into trusted data for reporting, analytics, and downstream systems, not just extraction, but the full workflow from collection to validation to delivery. Number 2, their tech approach is a hybrid, LLM first, but heavily guarded by validation and human oversight. Canoe uses its own LLMs plus NLP, table extraction, and regex where needed. A standout point was their 2 model setup, where one model is designed to disprove the other before data is released. That conservative design is meant to protect accuracy and trust. Number 3, product growth is being driven by customer pull and integration needs. The suite has expanded from intelligence to connect, asset data, tax, and labs because clients kept asking for more functionality. They're also very integration focused, which we like, staying system agnostic and delivering via APIs, files, SFTP, S3, and Snowflake so clients can use the data in the platforms they already rely on. All right, congratulations. You reached the end of another episode of Wealth Tech Today podcast. But before you go, please head to our website, EzraGroup.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage, and sign up for our newsletter. Once a month, you receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, and updates. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again for listening, and talk to you all again next time.